The front door shattered at exactly the wrong time, splinters of wood flying across the hardwood floor as 3 cops stormed into the apartment. Their flashlights cut through the pitch black like knives, beams catching bits of debris still hanging in the air. The lead detective stomped across the broken frame, heavy boot grinding it down. Right on his heels came the sergeant, one hand resting steady on the grip of his holstered weapon. Behind them, their captain followed slowly, his eyes sweeping the wrecked entryway with a cold, measured stare. Down the hall, in the bedroom, Angela Parker, a black woman, shot upright in bed, the sheets twisting around her legs like vines. Blinding beams hit her face before she could even move. She was dressed in nothing but a tank top and underwear, suddenly thrown under a spotlight in the most humiliating way possible. "Hands where we can see them," barked Detective Mark Sullivan. Angela lifted her hands, slow and controlled. Around her, the room already looked torn apart, drawers pulled open, furniture knocked over, papers scattered everywhere like a storm had blown through. But instead of panicking, her gaze sharpened. She wasn't staring at the mess. She was scanning faces, memorizing badge numbers, clocking every detail. That's when Sullivan's flashlight beam froze on the far wall. Hanging there was a navy blue jacket with one bold word in gold across the back, FBI. His light lingered on those letters for several long seconds, but no one said a thing. The radio clipped to Sullivan's belt crackled, and Sergeant Tom Reynolds' breathing turned heavier. The tension in the room shifted, but they pushed forward anyway. Sullivan walked over to the nightstand, grabbed Angela's purse, and opened it with a little too much confidence. His movements were slick, too slick. He slipped a tiny plastic bag into the side pocket, then pulled it back out like he'd just discovered it. Well, he said with a smug grin. The powder inside sparkled in the flashlight's glow, a setup plain as day. Angela's lips curved into the faintest smile. Sitting on her dresser, in full view, was a federal credentials folder they had walked right past. Meanwhile, the sergeant was now digging through her closet, pushing hangers around with shaky hands. Good, she thought. He should be nervous. Straightening in bed, her voice rang out clear and firm. "I need to see your warrant." Sullivan's head snapped toward her. "We don't need a warrant for a noise complaint, sweetheart." Her tone didn't waver. "You do for a search this invasive. You've already gone way beyond the scope of any noise complaint." The sergeant froze mid-search. Her authority cut through the tension like a blade. Sullivan's jaw clenched. "What are you? Some kind of lawyer?" "I know my rights under the Fourth Amendment," she answered evenly. "This is an illegal search." At that, the captain finally stepped forward from the doorway. "Ma'am, we received reports of drug activity tied to this address." She locked eyes with him. "From whom? And what specific probable cause gave you the right to smash down my door?" The 3 men traded nervous looks. Smoke from the splintered wood seemed to hang in the silence. Finally, the sergeant muttered, "Anonymous tip. Said you were dealing." "Anonymous tips don't justify warrantless searches of private homes," she shot back. Sullivan's face darkened. "You think you're smart?" "I think you're violating federal law," she replied coolly. He leaned in closer, dropping his voice low. "Listen, lady, we found drugs in your place. You can play along, or we'll make this very hard on you." Her expression didn't flinch. "Are you threatening me?" "I'm giving you options," he sneered. She studied his face. "Option 1, you want me to confess to crimes I didn't commit. Option 2, you invent new charges." The room went still. Only the static from the radio broke the silence. "You've got a smart mouth," the sergeant snapped. "I have constitutional rights," she shot back. Sullivan pulled a pair of handcuffs free, the clinking metal sharp in the quiet. "You're under arrest for possession of a controlled substance." The cuffs snapped onto her wrists, biting into her skin. Angela angled her body toward the glowing chest cams strapped to their uniforms and raised her voice so every word was clear. I'm being arrested on planted evidence. These officers entered my home without a warrant or probable cause. I never consented to this search. Shut up, Sullivan hissed. I have the right to remain silent, she continued, but I also have the right to speak. This is a false arrest based on fabricated evidence. The sergeant's grip tightened as he hauled her to her feet. Move. She obeyed, but her words didn't stop. I am requesting immediate legal counsel. Angela's voice stayed steady. I am requesting a supervisor. I am requesting a review of your body camera footage. Each word landed sharp, precise, like she was reading straight from a law manual. Her knowledge cut too deep, too professional. The three men exchanged uneasy glances, not realizing that every single second of their setup was being recorded, not only on their cameras, but on hers too. At the Chicago Police Department's Rivergate station, buzzing fluorescent lights glared down as Angela was marched through booking. The cuffs dug into her wrists, but her face never cracked. She kept cataloging everything, their rough grabs, the pointless shoves, each violation stacking in her mind like bricks in a wall of evidence. At the booking desk, Sergeant Tom Reynolds rattled off charges. Cocaine possession. Resisting arrest. Angela's reply was firm. I didn't resist arrest. The desk sergeant hesitated, pen hovering midair. Something in her tone didn't line up with the charges. But before he could speak, Detective Mark Sullivan snapped, she knows her rights, won't shut up about them. Keep it moving. Fingerprinting, mugshots, property inventory. Step by step, the process dragged on. When the desk sergeant opened her wallet, though, he stopped cold. Says here, you work for the federal government. Sullivan's hand froze over the keyboard. Process it, he barked, but the computer didn't lie. As the sergeant typed, the system pulled up the federal database. A bright red warning flashed across the screen. Angela Parker. FBI. 15-year veteran. Current assignment, Public Corruption Unit. Sullivan's jaw tightened. Leaning close to Reynolds, he whispered, we can still bury this. Across the building, in the equipment room, Officer Leah Monroe sat surrounded by rows of charging body cams. She scrolled through the raid footage, timestamp 21:17. Door blasting inward. Angela raising her hands. Sullivan digging through her purse. Monroe's stomach turned as she watched his hand slide a baggie into the pocket, then yank it out with fake triumph. It was too smooth. Too rehearsed. She rewound. Played it again. No doubt about it, the drugs hadn't been found. They'd been planted. And the cameras now carried proof that couldn't be ignored. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sullivan. Delete the body cam footage. Equipment malfunction. She stared at the message, pulse racing. Delete it, and she became part of the crime. Keep it, and she turned on men who called her family. She typed back, copy that. But her hands did the opposite. She uploaded the footage to a secure FBI server, the very same system Angela had been quietly using for months. When the upload finished, Monroe closed her eyes and dialed a number she knew by heart, the FBI tip line. This is Officer Monroe, Rivergate Police. We've taken a federal agent into custody. Silence. Then a sharp voice on the other end, repeat that. We arrested a federal agent. Intentionally, I believe. Name's Angela Parker. FBI, Public Corruption Unit. Typing clattered in the background. Where is she? In holding. They're pushing drug charges. Are the drugs real? Monroe's eyes squeezed shut. Planted. I have it on body cam. The voice hardened. Do not let that footage disappear. We're sending a team. Keep her safe. The call ended. Miles away, Assistant Director Marcus Hale jolted awake when his secure phone buzzed on the nightstand. Federal Emergency Protocol. He answered on the first ring. Hale. Sir, this is Agent Parker's handler. We've got a situation. Hale sat upright, already pulling on his clothes. Angela Parker wasn't just another agent, she was his best undercover operative. 15 years in the Bureau. 18 months buried deep inside a department rotting with corruption rumors. She's been arrested, the voice continued. Drug possession charges. Hale's jaw clenched. The arresting officers, are they her targets? Yes, sir. They planted evidence. Body cam confirms it. Before Hale could respond, another alert flashed across his secure tablet. Angela's emergency beacon had just been activated. That beacon existed for one reason only, life-threatening danger. Full response. Now, Hale ordered. Within minutes, federal tactical teams were mobilizing. Legal teams prepped sealed warrants. Surveillance vans locked onto Rivergate police communications. Inside interview room 3, Angela sat handcuffed at a metal table. Detective Sullivan spread a thick folder in front of her. Let's talk about your drug business, he said, faking confidence. I don't use or distribute cocaine, Angela replied evenly. The evidence says otherwise. The planted evidence, she corrected. Sullivan slammed a fist against the table. Stop saying that. Angela leaned forward, her voice low, deliberate. Then stop planting evidence. The words rattled him. He leaned in closer, trying to intimidate her. But her next sentence drained the color from his face. I think you've been under federal investigation for 2 years. Operation Iron Justice. Ring any bells? Angela asked. Detective Mark Sullivan froze. That operation name was classified, locked down so tightly that only federal investigators and the very corruption targets under surveillance were supposed to know it even existed. Outside the interview room, panic spread like wildfire. Through the thin walls, Angela could hear hurried whispers, rushed phone calls, the shuffle of men suddenly realizing they had just arrested the very agent sent to expose them. Meanwhile, Hale's federal teams were already tightening the net. Surveillance vans intercepted every scrap of police radio chatter, destruction orders, cover-up instructions, officers warning each other to wipe body cams. Too late for that, Hale muttered, as his analysts uploaded every intercepted file straight onto secured federal servers. By 3 a.m., black SUVs surrounded Rivergate Police Station. Tactical agents snapped into formation, weapons ready, waiting on Hale's word. All units, Hale's voice came through like iron, steady and unshakable. Federal authority is now in effect. Inside, Sullivan tried to slow his breathing, but even he could hear the sound of heavy boots approaching. At dawn, the Rivergate station trembled under the weight of federal power. Black SUVs boxed in every exit, and FBI tactical units stormed through doors on every side. Hale himself walked at the front of the sweep, his voice echoing across the lobby like a verdict. Federal Bureau of Investigation. This facility is now under federal jurisdiction. Chaos erupted instantly. Some officers froze with their hands in the air. Others scrambled, desperately shoving files into drawers, but resistance was useless. Federal agents secured the evidence rooms, seized every computer, and downloaded the body cam archives directly into FBI servers. The department's darkest secrets had already slipped from their hands. Captain Holt appeared pale and cornered. Hale faced him without hesitation. Captain Holt, you're under arrest for conspiracy to violate civil rights. The word struck with the weight of steel. Detective Sullivan and Sergeant Reynolds weren't spared either. Both men were slammed against the wall, cuffed, and read their charges: evidence tampering, false imprisonment, deprivation of rights under color of law. Their badges meant nothing now. And then came the silence that finished the job. Angela Parker stepped into the room. No cuffs on her wrists this time. She wore her FBI windbreaker, badge displayed like a shield of iron. Hale lifted it high so the entire station could see. Special Agent Angela Parker. Lead investigator, Operation Iron Justice. Shock rippled through the room. For 15 years, Angela had tracked corruption, documented planted evidence, logged every illegal search. And now she revealed just how wide the rot had spread. 23 officers indicted. Half the department implicated. Sullivan crumbled when Angela read his record aloud: 17 evidence plantings, 43 unlawful searches, 26 civil rights violations. Reynolds slumped as his own file was exposed. Even Captain Holt, once untouchable, closed his eyes as charges of running a criminal enterprise under color of law sealed his fate. Months later, the trial gripped the nation. Boxes of evidence stacked high in federal court, body cam footage, transcripts, hidden recordings, every violation documented. Guilty verdicts hit like hammer blows. Sullivan sentenced to 20 years. Reynolds, 12. Holt, 15. Reporters swarmed Angela outside the courthouse. One voice shouted above the rest, "What message does this send?" Her answer was calm, steady. Justice requires patience, courage, and persistence. Truth doesn't vanish, it waits to surface. At her side stood Officer Leah Monroe, now serving as a federal task force witness. She had chosen conscience over corruption, and her testimony proved pivotal. Angela glanced back at the courthouse, then forward toward whatever case came next. The work never ended. But for this city, justice had finally arrived.